All right, guys, we've got our mini preview and season win total predictions here for the Houston Texans. This is episode 13 as we comb through the entire NFL. And here we are at Houston, over 6.5 at +110, under 6.5 at -134. We're going to go over this total with the Houston Texans. So let's jump on into it. New coaching tree. DeMeco Ryans comes in from San Francisco. That defensive coordinator gets yanked, it seems, for a head coaching spot every other year, it feels like. He's a really good, proper leader, and he looks like he calls the defense well. It'll be a little bit of a step down in talent, but he has a knack for play calling, it looks like, at least. Bobby Slowick comes in as the offensive coordinator. He comes with him from San Francisco 49ers passing game coordinator, which means we may get some comfortable stuff here for the new rookie and CJ Stroud, and just an offense in general that's comfortable, short passes, that sort of stuff here. So I'm not so sure this is going to be a crazy feat for Stroud to jump into. Obviously, jumping from college to the NFL is difficult, but this type of hire at offensive coordinator will make it as seamless as it possibly can be for CJ Stroud. And then Matt Burke comes in as the DC, but it's going to be DeMeco Ryans really controlling that portion of the team. And then we jump into the roster and we get here to CJ Stroud, of course, the number 2 pick. A quarterback I like. I think he can be a solid pro. I think he's going to be a solid pro. Decently accurate, short and middle. I think the key to him being an elite quarterback or not is unlocking his legs a little bit, like he did in that Georgia game. If he can do that on a regular basis, watch out, I think, over his career. But a solid player. And as I said, we were talking about this system. I think this is a seamless jump, or not as seamless, but as seamless it could be as they jump into the NFL. Offensive line, odd on the edges. It's really good. Tunsil's excellent. Howard on the right is continuing to grow and is very solid. So their bookends are really, really good. It's the interior that was a real big problem last year. Left guard stays the same. Kenyon Green's going to have to step it up. Right guard, they bring in Shaq Mason, so hopefully he can solidify that. Then, of course, Scruggs gets drafted, probably a little bit early, but in desperate need of interior line help. If he can come in and play pretty solid, then we have a pretty good line here. I worry about left guard. Shaq Mason's a vet, so interior is where this is going to be problematic, if it's going to be problematic at all. So we'll have to watch out there, but there are holes here, but decent floor and a bit of a potential on the interior. Tight end, they bring in Schultz from Dallas. He's a solid player, not overly quick, but tends to get open and find nice little pockets. And then Brevin Jordan is got traits, and they'll hope he can continue to step up. So it's an okay tight end room, nothing crazy, nothing awful, and they'll hope for a nice safety blanket for CJ Stroud. Running back room, I kind of like this running back room. Pierce held on to everything last year. He ran really, really well. Hope to stay healthy. They bring in Singletary, who's an underrated runner, I feel like, from Buffalo. I think he can, help Pierce stay on his feet, take some carries, and they'll be solid carries as well. So it's a nice 1-2 here. So I like the running back room, very solid. And then wide receiver room is funny. There is no alpha here, just a bunch of 2s, 3s, and 4s, really. So it's a weird mix of players with different traits and stuff, but nothing super solid all over the place. Nico Collins is probably the one, which is kind of problematic, but they'll hope he can continue to grow. Mechie comes back. We'll see what his jump into it is like. Tank Dell is probably the 4. So those two in their first seasons actually playing football in the NFL is going to be difficult. Robert Woods comes in as the veteran presence. He's just not been good for a little bit now. So it's an odd room, not super, super deep. It's probably the worst spot on the team in terms of all-around talent in a single room. It's probably here at wide receiver. Then we get to the defense. Defensive line is pretty decent. I don't hate it. It's not awful. Rankins and Collins in the middle, that's solid. Depth behind them is problematic, so those two will hope to stay healthy and play well. Edge, it's not too bad. I really like edge. Hughes is defying age still. Will Anderson comes in. They traded a lot to get him, overpaid probably, but he'll hope to come in and justify that number 3 pick. So if he plays really, really well, they can really raise the ceiling on this defensive line. Winovich and Grenard, the other two. So it's solid all around on the edge. Interior is not too bad. It's just thin. So, you know, this D-line healthy can be pretty good. Linebacker is what it is. Perryman and Littleton come in. It's okay. Nothing awful, and nothing good or great, really. It's just lower 20s, really, compared to the rest of the NFL, pretty much. So not much to say there. Ryans will hope he can get them to play above their pay grade, but I'm not so sure. And then secondary. This is a pretty good unit. I kind of like this unit. It's predicated on a couple of players taking steps, but the rest of it's solid. Nelson, Desmond King were both solid at 2 and nickel last year. Stingley is one of the players who needs to step up. He did not play well last year, number 1 and number 2. We can give him some leeway. Texans really didn't put him in any good positions. It felt like they kind of just threw him out there on islands and stuff like that. So hopefully the new regime is a little bit kinder to Stingley, but also he does need to step up quite a bit. Then the safeties, Jimmy Ward comes in, a solid, good player. And then Petrie, of course, he's a good ball hawk. He made a lot of mistakes in coverage. He's uber aggressive, and that cost him a lot more than it helped him last year, it felt like. So he'll need to either dial that back or just get better overall. So we'll see. But if Stingley and him take steps forward, this is going to be a good secondary, I feel like, in a passing league. So we'll see. So solid. The front and back of this defense is solid. The middle is kind of soft, but it's not bottom of the barrel awful, this defense, which is a nice step in the right direction. And of course, DeMeco Ryans comes in, so hopefully he can push them forward as well. Then we jump into the schedule. Starts at Baltimore. It's just kind of a loss at the beginning of the season. It sucks, but it is what it is. Then you get Indy, at Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, at Atlanta, home to New Orleans here in the next stretch right before the bye. There are winnable games here. I don't think Jacksonville is way ahead of anybody in this division, and Houston tends to play them tough anyway. So we'll see. And then you get another rookie quarterback at home in the second week. Should be his first road game, and Anthony Richardson and the Colts. So that is a decent spot. Pittsburgh and New Orleans at home, right around Atlanta there. So Pittsburgh tends to keep people in games, so that should be okay. You should be at least in that game. At Atlanta is going to be tough. And then home to New Orleans. We'll see what New Orleans is like. They should be solid, but a home game here right before the bye. Not a bad spot. Then you come out after the bye at Carolina, Tampa Bay, at Cincinnati, Arizona, Jacksonville. This is another stretch where you could win 2 or 3 games here. Carolina, another rookie quarterback. All the rookies playing each other this year, it feels like. Tampa Bay at home. We'll see what Tampa Bay is like. They're really thin. At Cincy's a loss. Then Arizona and Jacksonville at home. We talked about Jacksonville and Arizona. Could be anything, but it's probably the worst roster in the league. Then their toughest stretch, kind of to end the season. Denver, at the Jets, at the Titans, Cleveland, Tennessee at home, and then at Indianapolis. So 3 of the last 4 division. You hope you can compete in those. The other one's going to be really difficult. But I think they can find a way to grab some wins here and get over the 6.5 number. I think this defense is better than it looks. Offensive line is solid, and the play calling should help out a rookie quarterback here a little bit more. So over 6.5 at +110 for the Houston Texans, and tomorrow we'll be on to another team.